Hi, this is another video about Kalvin Garrah. I swear not all of my videos will be about him. I posted one a couple weeks ago about him, but next week I'm planning a video on misogyny in the trans community. So that's gonna be really fun. But this video is unfortunately, again, about Kalvin Garrah and his latest 17-minute epic about neopronouns. I have a ton of notes on here about what I wanted to say. I got through, I think, like 10 minutes and then I had to quit because it was so fucking boring. And he was just ranting and it didn't make sense. And it was like getting to the point where it was hard to watch. About to get real personal here. I loved Kalvin Garrah my sophomore year. Like, I was in love with him and his videos. So I stopped liking him like in March, April-ish. And that's when I learned that he was a shitty person. I haven't watched his videos in almost a year. So watching his videos for the first time in a year, seeing someone that you idolized, loved, and adored just talk shit about you and your pronouns is very fucking hard. And I got through, I think, 10 minutes. And I have 20 notes. So basically I didn't write a script because I didn't feel like it. I just wrote things that he said and like a basic counter argument. 3 things you should know about me, what I believe. I know that gender is a social construct. I believe that pronouns do not equal gender, and I am a gender abolitionist. So, let's hop right in. I'm not gonna edit in. I'm not gonna edit in whatever the hell he's saying, like a normal reaction video, because A, I'm lazy. B, his voice is just really upsetting for me and a lot of trans people, and I don't think I'd be comfortable if I had to edit his voice for 2 hours. My notes are right there, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So I just wanted to add before I say this is very unorganized, it's just me ranting, and B, I'm in a bathtub because I feel safe in bathtubs. He begins off the video by saying that the entire trans community doesn't believe in neopronouns, which isn't true at all. If you look at his video, it's right now as a filming, it's 2K likes, 2K dislikes. Obviously that doesn't reflect all trans people, but the majority of trans people online are like, fuck gender, gender isn't real, neopronouns are valid. So it's not all the trans community. Then he says that he's trans, which is obvious if you've seen his videos, but I just want everyone on here to know that being trans is not an excuse for transphobia. When I identified as a trans man, I could still be transphobic to trans women and non-binary people and other gendered people. And of course, everyone can have an opinion. Your opinion sometimes just doesn't matter and it's not important. Then he complains about trans people saying cis people's opinions don't matter because why should they care? It does not affect them. If you're one of those cis people that says neopronouns make the trans community look like a joke, you are cis. Doesn't affect you. Multiple times he says, I hate trannies. Like, you can reclaim slurs if they affect you, but don't use them as insults still. Like, that's just becoming the oppressor. He got sponsored. He's smart. Kalvin Garrah's a smart guy. He knew this video would get a lot of traction from like haters or not haters, so he got it sponsored. Here's my favorite thing that anti-neopronouners say. I'm just gonna refer to them as transphobes because that's what they are. But here's my favorite thing they say. We fought hard for they. 50 years ago. People will go like, I'm not gonna call someone who was born a woman a he because it makes lesbians and gays look like jokes. 5 years ago. I'm not gonna call you they because you make the trans community look like a joke. And then here we are. I'm not gonna call you Z because you make the trans community look like a joke. Do we sense a common theme here? I'll get into more of this later. But I've said it before and I'll say it until the day I die. Trans people do not exist for cisgender approval. Oh, he thinks that neopronouns are like nicknames. It's not at all what it is. It's just another pronoun because pronouns are made up, language is made up, words are made up. He goes off about BL himself and says he saw someone using it seriously, but will not provide any evidence because no one is using it seriously. They will pretend to use it seriously because they are trolls. And he's like, people are always so mean to me. They get mad at me for being transphobic. They get mad at me for being not nice. They get mad at me for bullying children. Nothing to do with the neopronouns, just he's complaining that he's getting in trouble for bullying children. Then he does my favorite thing. He says to go outside. As if people who use neopronouns don't exist in the real world as well. Like, Kalvin, I go to school, I leave the house. I don't know why you think these people who are trans only exist online. Because we go outside and we get made fun of. And we learned how to fucking deal with it. He says, if you use neopronouns, I'm gonna call you they. When many people who use neopronouns aren't even non-binary. They don't even use they pronouns. They use he and neopronouns, or she and neopronouns, or just neopronouns. So yes, it is still misgendering. He literally made a YouTube video like a couple of years ago complaining about how he got called she in Subway. It's exactly how those people feel when you call them they. How you felt when you made that video is exactly how they feel when you call them they. He tries to explain the purpose of pronouns and he says it's a way to like make things easier. Pronouns just exist as a way to address someone, like another way to address someone. Then he goes off on how it doesn't make sense. When 50 years ago, people were like, God, just trans people don't make sense. God, non-binary people just don't make sense. God, neopronouns just don't make sense. Do you see the pattern here? Do you see it? Do you see it too? Good, I'm glad you do. And he talks about how pronouns are inherently gendered when gender is made up. So if you want to argue that pronouns are gendered, sure, in our society, yes, they are. But also, then he goes, what do you mean? What do neopronouns mean? Like, they just exist to make people happy. Kalvin, would it have killed you to do the tiniest bit of research before filming your video? People just want to be happy, Kalvin. Stop being a little bitch about it. I love that I'm 16 and literally more mature than Kalvin fucking Garrah. Complains about how neopronouns cannot be normalized because there's an infinite amount of neopronouns when we just normalize the infinite amount of neopronouns. Oh my god. And then he's like, you're setting the trans community back. Do you not understand that this is literally just moving the trans community even further? Like, we're trying to progress, we're trying to be better. I would fuck my arm.
That doesn't make sense to me. I'm Kalvin Garrah. Nothing makes sense to me. I don't understand it. I'm gonna throw a bitch fit.
This is when I stopped watching. I like skimmed through the rest of it. He talked about neurodivergent people and cisapproval. Kalvin Garrah, just because you have ADHD doesn't mean you have the same experience as people with autism and OCD and other people with ADHD. My ADHD affects me differently than the way your ADHD affects you. I have back problems, can you tell? So basically, neurodivergent people experience literally everything differently than neurotypical people. Our brains just aren't wired the same way. Neurodivergent people are just like, this shit does not make sense to me. And I am not comfortable using these made-up words for your made-up gender. As someone with ADHD, I just don't experience gender the same way someone who's neurotypical does. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. I don't have the right word for it. I just call myself a guy because that's what makes it easier, and that's what makes it easier for people to accept me. I'm not a guy, but I call myself that because it's easier. Me and so many other neurodivergent people are tired of lying about ourselves to make it easier for non-neurodivergent people. We experience gender differently, and I love how my brain works. It's just when everyone else's brain works differently than yours. It's a lot. Here's my favorite thing to talk about. I love talking about this. I love talking about this. I didn't even write anything down because I'm just so passionate about it. I can talk about it for hours. But you guys just love it when transphobes say that neopronouns, non-binary people, gender fluid people make the trans community look like a joke. I do. Because why should we change ourselves to make cis people happier? Why should we make ourselves not comfortable to make cis people comfortable? Is it because they write our laws? Instead of blaming other trans people for transphobic laws that are passed, blame the people who are writing the laws. Instead of blaming other trans people for transphobes, blame the transphobes. I swear to God, your Aunt Sally does not hate you because I use them. I pinky promise that. Your Aunt Sally hates trans people because she's scared. Someone using neopronouns isn't gonna change the systematic oppression against trans people. It's not. Old Mitch McConnell doesn't hate trans people because someone online is for our gender. He hates trans people because he's scared. Transphobes are so blinded by the fear and the hatred in their hearts. Same thing with neopronoun haters, aka transphobes. Same thing with neopronoun haters / transphobes. You just are so adamant in refusing to acknowledge that it's systematic oppression rather than personal oppressions. Trans people are systematically oppressed. Like, it's the same thing like Karen who think that racism ended with the Civil Rights Act, or racism is a very individual thing, when it's not. No idea how to segue out of that, so this is like the conclusion. Don't watch his video. The only reason I watched it is so I could make a video, and I really enjoy making these videos. They're really fun. I'm gonna go take a shower and I'm gonna edit this, and I'm gonna feel a lot better. Just a reminder, trans people don't exist for cis approval. They don't exist for governmental approval. They don't even exist for other trans people's approval. We just exist for ourselves, and we just exist to be happy. But if you use neopronouns or xenogenders, I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you know that the world will get better, and people like Kalvin and Garrah will just learn how to shut the fuck up. You're valid, and I love you. And if you ever need to talk, my Instagram and TikTok are in the description. So